Okay, so Dark Souls is about...
Alright. What's up guys, this is Alec, the Knight of FUBAR Gaming, and today we're going to explain Dark Souls. First of all, thank you to the theNBeXperience for having me on as a guest. I'm going to do my best to tell the story of Dark Souls. So in the beginning there was nothing really, it was kind of gray, there was no life or death, there was just everlasting dragons and giant trees. And there was also some giants that lived like below the dragons and all that stuff. Anyway, all of a sudden out of nowhere there's fire. With fire comes difference, so now there's life and death, there's light and dark, warmth and cold, all that good stuff. Within the first fire that came were four great souls: light, dark, life, and death. The light soul was taken by Lord Gwyn, who then controls sunlight and has a huge army of knights. The dark soul was taken by the little pygmy, and he fathers the human race, because I guess he was just banging all the time, I don't know. Whatever, he kind of hit on the ground. The life soul was taken by the Witch of Izalith, and we'll get to why life soul, yada yada yada. The death soul was taken by Nito, who is the Lord of the Undead. So the witch, who was a pyromancer, Nito, who does necromancy and death, and then Gwyn, who does miracles and sunlight and lightning, they took on the dragons, and they had, they really would have lost. However, Seath the Scaleless, which is a dragon without scales, was jealous of his fellow dragons. He betrayed them, he told the giants their secrets, and so they won over the land and killed off all the dragons. This ushered in an age of fire with Gwyn as the lord of the land, and this reigned for, say, 1,000 years. Alright, fast forward to the present. The fire that spawned all of this is starting to fade. The gods, which are the ones that got the souls, are worried because the fire is fading and the darkness is coming, and the darkness, which is the dark soul of man, so darkness is going to bring in the age of man as opposed to the age of giants and the age of fire. And the gods, who are giants, are like, well, we don't want to lose our power, fuck that. And so the Witch of Izalith is trying to recreate the first flame using her soul of life as trying to give birth life to this fire. And it goes horribly wrong. She spawns chaos monsters, and she deforms two of her children are turned into spider bitches, and her son is Ceaseless Discharge, which I'll just leave you with that name if you don't know who that is. That goes terribly wrong. Gwyn sends some of his knights to go fight and at Izalith and against all the chaos forces, which is why they're black knights. Their armor is charred from the flames. And then also, so Gwyn sees all this going down, and he's like, alright, well, I've got to put a stop to this. Darkness is coming. And which really, if you listen to the serpents in the game, they're like, oh, well, it's just a cycle, you know, light, dark. It goes in cycles. It's supposed to go back and forth, like, whatever, so it's natural. But Gwyn wants the flame to live on, so he breaks his soul apart into pieces. He gives some to the four kings, he gives some to his good friend the traitor dragon, and then he takes what is left of his soul and he sacrifices himself to keep the flame burning there in the kiln where the first flame was born. This could also be why the Black Knights are charred. Either way, the flame, yada yada yada. Anyway, so now Gwyn is essentially without a soul, hollow there at the kiln, which is what explains why he's there. And so now the gods have set up this system to where they need someone with another great soul to sacrifice themselves to the flame to keep it burning. That's what this whole system is prepared for. So you, as the character, there's a whole like prophecy. You're supposed to make a pilgrimage, and you're supposed to go through the game beating these great gods and bosses and things to keep building up your soul and keep making it better until you finally reach Gwyn, and you're supposed to take his place and sacrifice yourself to the flame to keep it burning. They built this whole system like this big trial to build you up enough to be to sacrifice yourself, is what the whole system was meant to do. The bonfires actually feed on humanity, and it's a whole thing. It's pretty neat. But anyway, also cool too, the four kings of New Londo actually gave in to, they were tempted by the serpent, and they gave in to darkness, which is why the abyss was actually encroaching upon New Londo, and the gods that were left actually sacrificed the entire city of New Londo and killed thousands. Their bodies just strewn all over the place there in New Londo, which is why there's ghosts and there's bodies everywhere. Because they were scared of the abyss and what was in it, which was Dark Wraith. So really, even though darkness is supposed to be the age of man, and like, oh, this is what's supposed to happen, if you look into the abyss and see all the dark race, you see that the dark is not necessarily good either. So anyway, that pretty much sums up Dark Souls. It's all a big gauntlet to empower your soul to go to the kiln and sacrifice yourself to keep the fire burning. However, if you go through some extra steps, you can actually... you don't even have to go through extra steps, you can just do this anyway. Instead of sacrificing yourself, you can actually let the flame burn out and usher in the Age of Man, the Age of Darkness, because it's all very cyclic. Everything in Dark Souls is very cyclic. You can break the cycle of fire and you can usher in the Age of Man. But again, as we saw in the Abyss, that may not exactly be the good option either, because things in darkness, in the Abyss, the Dark Race, all those things are not good either. So, anyway, that's the story of Dark Souls. Hopefully that wasn't too long for you guys, and hopefully you know a little bit more about the game now as far as what the game is all about. Also, in the Painted World, that the chick that's super kawaii and everyone loves her, Priscilla, that's actually the dragon actually got it on with, I think, the king's daughter. So that's their offspring. That's why she has a dragon tail. Anyway, fun fact, just wanted to throw that one in there. And then Gwendolyn was raised as a female, even though he's a guy. And he has tentacles. I think he's also the spawn of some random bullshit. Whatever. Anyway, that's Dark Souls. Enjoy.
I don't know what the fuck he was talking about. I don't think he knows. Here's what the game's really about. Not pissed off! Fuck this game!